When I loosened her bonds, even my breathing trembled. She gritted her teeth, voice quivering. "Didn't you say you were going to lock me up for life?" "Mr. Johnson." My hand came to an abrupt halt. In the story, I imprison the female lead Sophia, control her in every way, become crazily obsessive, and am eventually framed by her and sent to prison, where I go mad and die. I was terrified. I fished out a yellowed candy wrapper from the shirt pocket. I handed it to her. This was the one Sophia slipped me when we were 6. When the glass candy jar shattered, she clenched the last candy, stood on tiptoe, and pressed it into my palm. Ethan sweet. When the paranoid, possessive male lead plot awakened, I was clutching his studded belt. Frozen in place. Possessive male lead? I swallowed and looked down at myself. Me? A suppressed sob pulled my thoughts back. In front of me, a thin girl curled up on the cold floor. The light-colored skirt hem was caked with dust, and the exposed ankles bore obvious bruises. The wrists were marked red by the coarse hemp rope, and the fingertips showed an abnormal whiteness. Sophia, the heroine of this healing story. She was my childhood playmate who grew up with me. In the story, I had a crush on Sophia for 12 years. The gentle boy who used to follow her, handing her paints while she painted, standing in front of her when she was bullied. Until the male lead appeared, my descent into darkness suddenly maxed out. Not only did I repeatedly target the male lead, I also locked Sophia in the villa, cut up her paintbrushes, smashed her easel, and did all the things only a madman would do. Sophia completely lost hope in me and was terrified to her core. In the end, she teamed up with the male lead to scheme and send me to prison. Before long, I went insane in the cell and used the sharpened toothbrush handle to cut my wrists. And at this moment, Sophia, who hadn't yet become the gentle doctor, was curled up at my feet. The cuff of her white sweater was torn, revealing the crisscrossing scratches on her arm. The pale little face was streaked with tears, the lips pressed together tightly. The moment our eyes met, I knew I probably wasn't going to survive. Those fawn-like eyes were filled with terror, like a frightened young animal, yet edged with a hint of ruthless desperation as if driven to the brink. A swell of fear and disgust underneath threatened to overflow. I'm about to cry. I'm Ethan, law-abiding my whole life. I'd even mutter for a long time before crushing an ant. I really can't play this obsessive male lead. It's never too late to mend the pen after the sheep are lost. My hands trembled as I unbound the hemp rope around Sophia's wrists, but my gaze was glued to the redness at the corner of her eyes. A scene suddenly flashed through my mind. When I locked the door, I stroked her hair sickly, resting my chin in the hollow of her neck. "Sophia, there are many bad people outside. Staying by my side is the only way to be safe. Don't look at others. Don't laugh. Your eyes may only look at me." A chill ran through me. The Johnsons and the Taylors were neighbors, separated by a fence covered in climbing roses. The grandmothers of both families were inseparable, always joking about arranging a childhood betrothal. Sophia is half a year younger than me. In my memory, she always wore 2 little braids, chasing after me with crayons in hand, softly calling me Ethan. Although my temperament was cold, I always kept her protected behind me and would secretly slip her the snacks Mom gave. But later, my thoughts grew wild. I was no longer satisfied with being her Ethan. Watching her laugh and chat with the transfer student, watching her show others a dazzling smile I'd never seen, felt like someone had ripped my heart out. Only then did he lock her up and put her through that grand, illusory dream. The moment the hemp rope loosened, Sophia suddenly recoiled, as if she had been burned. She braced herself against the wall and slowly stood up. Her knees were weak, and she nearly fell back down. I reached out instinctively to steady her, but she recoiled in terror. "Don't touch me." Her voice had a sob in it and was still trembling. I stood frozen, staring at the fear in her eyes, my heart clenched as if gripped by a hand. "Sophia, shut up." She jerked her head up, her eyes rimmed in red. "Ethan, what right do you have to call me Sophia?" The thin girl stood against the light, so frail, yet as if her whole body had sprouted sharp thorns. "Didn't you say you were going to lock me up forever?" Why has Mr. Johnson suddenly turned merciful? She tugged at the corner of her mouth and showed a smile uglier than crying. Are you bored of this game and want to try a new one? My throat tightened. I couldn't say a single word. Sophia was probably truly afraid of me. She used to stand on tiptoe to tug at my sleeve, tilting up her little face and smiling. The girl clenched her fists, her knuckles whitening. Ethan, do you know my parents are about to go crazy? They think I disappeared and have called the police so many times. When you cut up my art supplies, did you know that was the piece I'd been preparing for the competition for half a year? You lock me in here and watch me every day like I'm a prisoner. What exactly do you want? Fragments of memory suddenly flood in. 3 days ago, I threw her sketchbook on the ground and crushed it with my shoe. She lunged at me to snatch it, and I grabbed her arm and pinned her against the wall. What use is painting these? I said, pinching her chin and forcing her to look at me. Am I not enough for you? What's so great about that transfer student? Do you like him that much? Sophia, remember, you are mine. I closed my eyes and nearly vomited. Ethan, you're seriously fucking sick. You ignore your perfectly good childhood sweetheart and insist on being a lunatic. I opened my mouth, wanting to explain, but found everything pale and powerless. Sophia looked at me and suddenly laughed, laughing until tears came to her eyes. Do you think I'm easy to bully? Ethan, I'm telling you, as long as I can get out, I will make you pay. She turned to walk away, but her step faltered. I looked at the bruise on her ankle. It was from yesterday when she tried to run away and I dragged her back, making her hit the corner of the table. Wait, I hurriedly rummaged through the drawer for the first aid kit, intending to treat her wound. But Sophia recoiled as if she'd seen a ghost and backed into the doorframe. Don't come any closer. Her voice trembled. Ethan, if you take one more step, I'll jump from here. The second floor window was open. The wind rushed in, billowing her skirt. I was so frightened I stopped immediately, the hand holding the medical kit shaking. I won't move. I'll leave it here. I put the suitcase on the floor and slowly backed away. Sophia, I'm sorry. I know I was wrong. I really do. Go. I won't stop you. The girl looked at me suspiciously, as if trying to decide whether I was up to my tricks again. After a few minutes of standoff, she seemed genuinely frightened. Gritting her teeth, she limped out. She stopped abruptly at the doorway and didn't look back. Ethan, I never want to see you again. The door was slammed shut with a heavy thud. I felt all my strength drain away and slid down the wall to sit on the floor. Looking at the empty room, the air still seemed to hold a faint scent of gardenia from her. I took out my phone. My fingers were trembling badly as I dialed my family's number. Mom, my voice was hoarse, not like mine. Book me a plane ticket to England as soon as possible. Sophia was free. She should have her own life, should pursue her dream of painting, should meet someone who can truly make her smile. A madman like me should stay far away from her. England is far enough from here, right? By the time I come back, she'll probably have long forgotten Ethan the madman, been admitted to the art academy she desires, with a gentle young man standing by her side. That's fine. The news that Sophia had returned home spread quickly. I heard her parents held her and cried all night, and the next day took her to see a psychologist. I didn't dare visit her, or even go near the street where she lived. I stayed cooped up in my room all day, waiting for the paperwork to go abroad to be completed. That afternoon, I was packing my luggage when a local news notification suddenly popped up on my phone. It was about the city's youth art competition. In the photo, Sophia was wearing a white dress, standing on the podium, holding a silver award certificate. She was a bit thinner, her chin sharper, but her eyes were bright, as if they had stars in them. She just didn't smile. I stared at the photo for a long time, my finger tracing her face on the screen. So she did enter the competition after all. Did she prepare again in such a short time with the few art supplies she had left? Amazing, my Sophia. The phone suddenly vibrated. A message from Jake Wilson. Ethan, did you see? Sophia won an award. She's the only one from our high school nominated. Awesome. I replied, He sent another. By the way, what's up between you two lately? You used to be inseparable, but recently I can't even see you together. When Sophia was accepting the award, I called her and she ignored me. Is she mad at you? I stared at the screen, unable to reply for a long time. It was more than just anger, probably wishing he'd never met me. Jake kept babbling. But seriously, Sophia's been pretty close with that transfer student Leo. After the awards today, that kid even walked her home carrying a pretty big gift box. No idea what it was. I clenched my phone, my knuckles going white. The transfer student is called Leo. He's the male lead in the story. Gentle, cheerful, an artist. And he's a perfect match for Sophia. They should be together. I took a deep breath, tossed my phone aside, and kept packing. Winters in England are very cold. You should bring more warm clothes. The day before I went abroad, I went to the school to apply for withdrawal. Just after I stepped out of the academic affairs office, someone blocked my way. Ethan. I looked up and saw Leo standing in front of me, with several boys following behind him. The transfer student was tall, wearing a clean white shirt, anger on his face. Where did you hide Sophia? He clenched his fists. What did she go through these past 2 weeks? Why is she like a different person since she came back? I looked at him and suddenly felt a little amused. None of your business. How is that none of my business? Leo stepped forward. I like Sophia, and I won't let you bully her again. People gradually gathered around, pointing and whispering. Oh, isn't this Mr. Johnson? Facing off against Leo, I heard that when Sophia went missing, Ethan disappeared too, like evaporated from the world. Do you think maybe? No way, right? Weren't Ethan and Sophia childhood sweethearts? I listened to these rumors and only felt annoyed. Just as I was about to leave, Leo reached out and stopped me. Ethan, did you do something to wrong Sophia? Otherwise, why are you running? I looked at the sense of righteousness in his eyes and suddenly recalled a scene from the plot. I cornered Leo in an alley and beat him until blood ran from the corner of his mouth. I warned him viciously, stay away from Sophia, or next time it won't be this simple. I closed my eyes, suppressing the rising nausea. Move. I won't. Leo stiffened his neck. You have to apologize to Sophia. At that moment, a chilly voice cut in. Let him go. I whipped my head around and saw Sophia standing not far away. She had a sketchbook slung on her back, her face still a little pale, but her expression was calm. Sophia. Leo was startled for a moment. I told him to leave. Sophia looked at me, her tone flat. Ethan, go now. Don't ever show up in front of me again. I looked at her, my throat tightening. Sophia. Shut up. She cut me off. Ethan, we're even. The thin young girl turned and said to Leo, let's go. It's time to go to the studio. Leo glanced at me, then at Sophia, and in the end followed her. Their figures walking side by side cast long shadows in the sunlight. I stood where I was, watching them walk away until they were out of sight. My phone vibrated in my pocket, a message from Mom saying the plane ticket was booked for 9 a.m. tomorrow. Pretty good. Let be. Life in the UK was very dull. I chose to major in finance and spent every day holed up in the library, forcing myself not to think about things back home. Occasionally I heard bits of news about Sophia from Jake. They said her painting was getting better and she had won several awards, that she was close with Leo and everyone thought they were about to get together, that she still didn't smile much, but was a lot better than when she first came back. I only ever replied with MM. Time passed quickly. In the blink of an eye, it was 2 years. That winter, Jake suddenly sent me a photo. It was Sophia's art exhibition. The girl stood in front of her painting, wearing a beige coat, her hair grown long and tied into a low ponytail. A faint smile played on her face. Though slight, it was indeed a smile. I stared at the photo for a long time, turning my phone screen to its dimmest setting. How wonderful. She finally smiled. Jake sent a message. Ethan, aren't you really coming back to take a look? Sophia's exhibition was especially successful this time. A lot of academy professors showed up. I replied, no, I'm busy with classes here. Busy my ass. Jake sent a voice message, his tone full of exasperation. I know you still like her. What happened back then was your fault, but you can't keep hiding forever. Sophia's birthday is next month. Can't you come back and apologize to her? I stared at the screen, my finger hovering over it, unable to move. Apologize? What right do I have? Some people, once missed, are missed forever. Some hurts can't be erased with a single sorry. I still didn't go back in the end. I just asked Jake to bring Sophia a gift, a limited edition paintbrush she had mentioned she liked before. Jake said Sophia was momentarily stunned when she received it. She didn't say yes or no, and just set it aside. I breathed a sigh of relief and felt a little forlorn. Let be. At least she didn't throw it away. In my junior year, I heard that Sophia had been accepted into the best art academy in the country, and Leo had also gotten into the same city as her. They were probably really together then. I started trying the blind dates my family set up, having dinner and seeing movies with different girls, but I always felt like something was missing. They would laugh, act coquettish, say pleasant things, but none of them were Sophia. I know I have no right to think about her, but I can't help it. Like an addiction, I can't quit. On graduation day, I turned down a job offer in London and booked a flight home. My parents came to the airport to pick me up. When they saw me, my mother's eyes filled with tears. It's good that you're back. It's good that you're back. On the way home, passing by the street where Sophia lives, I straightened my back instinctively. The roses on the fence were in full bloom, pale pink and white. The villa door was open, and I could see easels drying in the courtyard. My heart gave a sudden jolt. Mom, the Taylor family. Oh, the Taylors, Mom sighed. They moved to Jinkshire last year. Isn't Sophia studying there? Her parents went with them. I stood frozen, my heart feeling hollow. Of course, she should have left long ago. There are too many bad memories in this city. Back home, while tidying my room, I found a yellowed candy wrapper in an old book. It was orange flavored, the edges all rounded off. This was when I was 6. Sophia shoved it into my hand. That day, I'd been scolded by Dad and was crouching in the yard crying. She ran over holding a glass jar of candy. The jar hit the ground and shattered. She clutched the last candy and, on tiptoe, pressed it into my palm. Ethan, it's sweet. If you eat it, you won't feel sad anymore. I pinched that candy wrapper, and suddenly my eyes filled with tears. So it turned out I'd been hiding for so many years. The year after I returned to the country, I took over the family company. I became the Mr. Johnson people talked about, wearing suits every day, driving a luxury car, and attending all kinds of business gatherings. There were occasionally female companions by my side, but none could enter my heart. On the day Jake Wilson got married, I served as his best man. When toasting, he quietly said to me, "By the way, Sophia is back." My hand trembled, and I almost dropped my glass. What did she come back for? It seems she's holding an art exhibition, Jake said, looking at me. Ethan, how about I set up a meeting for you? I quickly shook my head. No, forget it. What good would meeting her do? It would only make her think of that madman. After the wedding, I drove past the City Art Museum and, on a whim, pulled over. The exhibition was on the 3rd floor. I stood at the entrance, hesitated for a long time, and still went in. There weren't many people in the gallery. It was very quiet. I saw Sophia at a glance. She was wearing a simple white t-shirt and jeans, talking with Olivia Carter. Her long hair fell over her shoulders. Wearing light makeup, she looked a bit more mature than a few years ago, yet still so pure. She smiled, lightly, like wind brushing across a lake, stirring up ripples. I stood at a distance, watching her profile, my chest feeling as if it had been filled with something. How wonderful! She's doing so well now. Just as I was about to slip away quietly, she suddenly turned her head, and our gazes met. At the moment our eyes locked, time seemed to stand still. Sophia froze in place, a flicker of surprise in her eyes, followed by detachment. She said something to Olivia, then walked over to me. Ethan, her voice was very calm, betraying no emotion. You're here to see the exhibition too? My throat tightened. Just passing by, thought I'd come in and take a look. Oh, she nodded, saying nothing more. The two of us stood in front of the painting, the atmosphere unbearably awkward. I looked at her, wanting to say something, but found 1,000 words stuck in my throat. Your paintings are very beautiful. I racked my brains and managed to squeeze out only that line. Sophia's fingertips traced the edge of a painting, a sunflower, golden as if it could warm the heart. She lowered her lashes, her voice light as a sigh. Thank you. Silence spread again. Soft music flowed low through the gallery, making the awkwardness in the air all the more palpable. I stared at the silver bracelet on her wrist, the one I gave her for her 18th birthday. Still worn, yet feeling as if separated by 1,000 rivers and mountains. I heard that you. I forced myself to speak. Are going to open a studio here? She finally looked up at me, her gaze calm and untroubled. Competition in Jing City is too fierce. I want to come back and give it a try. I clenched my hands until my nails dug into my skin. So she wasn't just back for a short while. She intended to stay for good. Realizing that made my chest inexplicably tight, both eager and anxious. Do you need any help? I try to make my voice sound natural. With the space or resources I can. No need. She cut me off, her tone as flat as water. Mr. Johnson, we don't seem to be that close. Those 3 words, Mr. Johnson, felt like needles stabbing pain into my chest. Yeah, we were long past being Ethan and Sophia. She turned to leave, but on a whim, I grabbed her wrist. The silver bracelet burned into my palm. She jerked her hand away as if scalded, her eyes instantly filling with terror. That look was like a bucket of cold water, soaking me from head to toe. Only then did I realize what I'd done, and I stumbled back a step. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. Sophia looked at me, her lips moving slightly, and finally only said, Ethan, don't do this anymore. She turned and hurried away, the hem of her skirt brushing the floor and stirring a breeze. I stood where I was, watching her figure disappear at the end of the exhibition hall. A stone lodged in my throat, making it hard to breathe. Olivia came over and patted my shoulder. Mr. Johnson knows Ms. Taylor? She's the young artist our gallery is most confident in this season. Truly talented. I tugged at the corner of my mouth and said nothing. Of course I knew she was talented. When she was little, she would lie on the carpet at my house and draw, crayons smeared all over her, holding up the paper and smiling at me. Ethan, look, I drew us. On the paper were 2 crooked little figures holding hands, with a golden sun in the background. Sophia's studio was located in an alley in the old quarter, with a small courtyard where she grew the gardenias she loved. I got the address from Jake, but I never dared go. Until one afternoon, when I was nearby negotiating a collaboration and past that alley, I was inexplicably drawn in. The studio door was ajar. I stood at the entrance and could see a new canvas stretched on an easel inside. It was a field of sunflowers, gilded, as if it could dazzle a person. Sophia sat at the easel, holding a brush and intently mixing colors. Sunlight poured through the window onto her, edging her with a rim of gold. I was so absorbed that I didn't notice the pebbles underfoot and made a sound. She snapped her head around, and when she saw me, she was startled. The paintbrush in her hand nearly fell to the ground. Why are you here? She stood up and instinctively took a step back, like a frightened young deer. Only then did I realize my rudeness and hurriedly explained, I was passing by, so I just came in to take a look. She frowned, her tone wary. Ethan, I told you, don't come looking for me again. I'm not doing it on purpose. I looked at her. I just wanted to see your paintings. Her paintings were better than before, the colors bright, full of life. There was no sign of the darkness she had once gone through. That's really nice. Sophia didn't speak. She just looked at me, the aloofness in her eyes like a wall, keeping me out. After a long silence, I finally summoned the courage. Sophia, about what happened back then. I'm sorry. Those words were something I had owed her for many years. She was stunned for a moment, then tugged at the corner of her mouth, as if laughing, yet also as if mocking herself. What's the point of saying this now? It meant something to me. I looked at her, my chest tight. Sophia, I know I was a jerk before and did a lot of things that hurt you. I'm not asking for your forgiveness. I just want to tell you that I truly know I was wrong. Sophia lowered her head and stared at the floor. After a long time, she lifted her eyes, which were a little red around the rims. Ethan, do you know how I spent those 2 weeks? I thought every day about whether my parents were looking for me, whether they were worried. I watched the trees outside the window, counted the leaves, wondering when I could go out. When you cut off my painting supplies, I felt like my whole life was ruined. Her voice was very soft, yet it struck my heart like a heavy hammer. I knew everything. The scenes from the story flooded in like a tide. I tore her sketchbook to shreds. She lunged to grab it, and I pinned her to the wall. What's the point of drawing these? Am I not enough for you? She cried and beat at me. Ethan, let me go. You lunatic. Yes, I'm a lunatic. I gripped her chin, forcing her to look at me. I'm mad about you. I snapped back to myself, cold sweat soaking my back. I'm sorry, Sophia. I'm really sorry. My voice trembled. Back then, I was possessed by my own foolishness. Sophia looked at me and suddenly laughed, tears welling in her eyes. Possessed? Ethan, do you know your possessed nearly destroyed me? I know. I looked at her. That's why I didn't dare ask for your forgiveness. I just wanted to stay away from you and watch you be all right. Then what are you doing here now? She wiped away her tears, her tone turning cold. Watching me be all right isn't enough. Do you have to come and disturb me again? I opened my mouth, but couldn't get a word out. Yeah, what did I come here for? Knowing full well it would make her recall unpleasant memories, I still couldn't help wanting to come and see her. I'm leaving. I turned around. Sorry, I'll get out of your way. When I reached the door, I stopped and glanced back at her. She stood in front of the easel, her back to me, her shoulders trembling slightly, as if she were crying. My heart felt as if gripped by a hand, aching so I could hardly breathe. After that, I never went down that alley again. I poured all my energy into work, busy every day until late at night. So exhausted I fell asleep the moment my head hit the pillow, not daring to give myself any free time to think about her. But the harder I tried not to, the more I couldn't help it. Jake Wilson invited me to his home to celebrate his first wedding anniversary. At the dinner table, Mia Wilson suddenly brought up, by the way, isn't Sophia single? I have a cousin who's really nice and also into the arts. Should I introduce them? The hand holding my chopsticks clenched suddenly, my knuckles widening. Jake glanced at me and hurriedly smoothed things over. Sophia is focused on her career right now. She probably doesn't have time for dating. Mia didn't catch the hint and continued. You can balance career and love. My cousin is really great. Gentle and refined. He'd definitely have things in common with Sophia. I said nothing, just drank silently, feeling as if something was blocking my chest. Yeah, she should be in a relationship. She should find someone gentle, who understands her and won't hurt her. Someone like Leo in the story. I heard Leo has now become a somewhat renowned architect and is still pursuing Sophia. They were truly a match made in heaven. After finishing the meal, I left early. When driving past that alley in the old town, I stopped the car again. The studio's lights were still on, and through the window, I could see Sophia's figure. She was sitting at the table, looking at something very focused. I sat in the car like that, watching that lamp until it went out. Then I drove away, burying that forbidden thought deep in my heart. Sophia's art exhibition was very successful. Many people from the art world attended the opening. I went as a sponsor, standing in a corner, watching her from afar. She was wearing a champagne-colored dress, her makeup exquisite, talking with Arthur Hughes, a poised smile on her face. Confident, composed, like a blooming gardenia. How wonderful. I watched her, feeling both gratified and bitter. Just then, a familiar figure walked over. It was Leo. He was wearing a suit and holding a bouquet of sunflowers. He came up to Sophia, handed them to her, and wore a gentle smile. Sophia froze for a moment, then took the flowers. Leo said something. She smiled. A smile from the heart, as bright as sunshine. I turned and quietly left the exhibition hall. The wind outside was a bit cool, making my eyes sting. It's time to let go. Really time to let go. Since then, I began trying to accept the arranged blind dates my family set up. There was a girl named Chloe Bennett, the daughter of a family friend of my father's. She was very pretty, outgoing, and had a good impression of me. We had dinner together a few times and watched a few movies. We got along fairly well. Chloe was smart. She knew there was someone in my heart, but didn't call me out on it. She just said, "Ethan, let the past be the past. People have to move forward." I knew she was right, but that mental hurdle isn't so easy to get past. That day, I went with Chloe to an art exhibition, and it turned out to be Sophia's again. Her style had changed a bit, with softer colors. One painting depicted the gardenias in an alley, blooming perfectly. Chloe stood in front of the painting and exclaimed, "This artist's work really has a spirit to it. It feels very warm." I looked at the painting and thought of the gardenias in Sophia's yard. Every summer, they would bloom and fill the whole courtyard with fragrance. When we were little, she would pick one and tuck it into the pocket of my shirt, smiling with crescent eyes. "Ethan, does it smell good?" "Fragrance. Then I'll pick it for you every day from now on." "Okay." I came to my senses and found Chloe looking at me, a knowing look in her eyes. "You know her?" I nodded, my voice a little hoarse. "Yeah. We knew each other as kids. You can tell you care about her." Chloe smiled, generously. "Ethan, if you like her, go for it. Don't leave yourself with regrets." I gave a bitter smile. Some things once missed aren't just missed. Chloe didn't try to persuade me further. She just said, "Then at least, don't make life so hard on yourself." Sophia's studio had an accident. I saw it on the news. The old district's wiring had aged and caused a fire, and her studio happened to be near the ignition point. I was so terrified I was beside myself, drove like a madman toward it. When I arrived, the fire had already been put out. The police tape was up, and you could see the charred ruins inside. My heart felt like it had been clenched by a hand, aching so I could barely breathe. "Sophia? How is Sophia?" I grabbed a firefighter, my voice trembling. "You mean that female painter?" The firefighter thought for a moment. "She's fine. She happened to be out shopping when the fire started. It's just that the studio burned pretty badly. The paintings are probably all gone." I exhaled in relief. My legs went weak, and I almost couldn't stand. "It's okay, it's okay." I searched nearby for a long time, and finally saw her at the corner cafe. She sat in the window seat, someone else's coat draped over her, her face pale, her eyes hollowly staring at the ruins outside the window. The coffee in front of her was untouched, already cold. I walked over and sat down across from her. When she saw me, she didn't react much, as if she no longer had the strength to be on guard. "Are you okay?" I asked in a very soft voice. She didn't speak. After a long time, she shook her head, her eyes rimmed with red. "My paintings, they're all gone." It was a new series she had been preparing for a long time, one that embodied much of her effort. I watched her try to hold back her tears. My heart ached as if cut by a knife. "It's okay," I said, taking her hand. She didn't pull away. "You can redraw it, as long as you're still here." Sophia looked up at me and finally couldn't hold back her tears, but that was something I spent so long drawing. She looked like a wrong child, her shoulders trembling as she cried. I said nothing, just handed her a tissue and quietly kept her company. After she had cried enough and her emotions had steadied a little, I said, "I'll help you find a new studio, better than the previous one, okay?" She shook her head. "No need." "Sophia." "Ethan," she looked at me, exhaustion in her eyes. "Why are you being so good to me? You treated me like that before, and now you're doing this again. What are you trying to do?" I looked at her, my chest tightening, and finally spoke the words I kept hidden for many years. "Because I love you, Sophia." She liked him ever since she was 6 and shoved that orange candy into my palm. She just used the wrong way. Sophia froze, surprise filling her eyes. After a long moment, she found her voice. "Ethan, don't joke." "I'm not joking." I looked at her, my expression serious. "Sophia, I like you. I've liked you for many years. It was me who was the jerk before. I used the wrong methods and hurt you. I know I don't deserve to like you anymore, but I can't help it." I don't dare ask for your forgiveness, much less ask you to like me. I just want to be by your side, to watch you be okay. Sophia looked at me without speaking, her eyes red again. Silence spread between the two of them. The music in the cafe flowed low, as if telling a story. After a long time, she finally spoke softly. Ethan, I'm afraid. I know. I looked at her, my chest aching. I won't force you anymore, Sophia. I'll wait for you, until you're no longer afraid of me. If she remained afraid forever, then I would watch her from afar forever. As long as she could be well, that was enough. I helped Sophia find a new studio in a pleasant arts district with a large terrace where she could see the distant mountains. She neither refused nor accepted. She simply moved in quietly. I didn't go bother her often. I would occasionally have someone deliver art supplies or sit for a while in the cafe beneath her studio, and when I saw her light on, I felt relieved. Leo came to see me once. He stood at the door of my office, looking unwell. Ethan, what exactly do you want? What I want is none of your business. I looked at him. Leo, liking someone means respecting her wishes, not forcing her. Forcing her, Leo laughed. What about you? The things you did to her before. Is that called respect? I clenched my fists, my nails digging into my flesh. It was my fault before. I will spend the rest of my life making up for it. Making up for it? Leo looked at me. You think you can make up for it? The harm you caused her is something she will never forget in her lifetime. I know. I looked at him. That's why I'm not asking for her forgiveness. I just want to stay by her side, protect her, and make sure she doesn't get hurt again. Leo didn't say anything more. He just gave me a long, hard look, then turned and walked away. I know he will not give up, but neither will I. This time, I will protect my girl the right way. Sophia's new exhibition opened as scheduled and was more successful than the last time. Her paintings had acquired warmer colors. One of them depicted Cape jasmine in the alley, blooming perfectly. In the corner of the painting was a blurred figure of a young boy, facing away from the viewer, as if waiting for someone. I stood in front of that painting and looked at it for a long time. My eyes felt a little warm. After the opening ceremony, Sophia called out to me, Ethan. I turned around and looked at her, my heart inexplicably tightening. She walked up to me, holding a small picture frame, and handed it to me. It's for you. I took it, opened it, and inside was a sketch. It depicted two crooked little figures holding hands, the background a golden, shining sun, very similar to the one she drew when she was little, only a bit more refined. In the lower right corner of the drawing, there was a small line of text. Ethan, sweet. I froze in place, and my eyes immediately filled with tears. Sophia looked at me, a faint smile on her face, like the wind over the lake, stirring ripples. Ethan, let's give it a try. I looked at her, so excited I couldn't speak, only able to nod vigorously. Tears slid from the corners of my eyes, dripping onto the picture frame, blotting a small water stain. How wonderful! I waited so many years, and at last the moment has come. Sunlight streamed through the art museum's glass dome, falling on us, warm and gentle. I know the road ahead is still long. The barrier in her heart may take a very long time to overcome. But it's all right, I will wait. With a lifetime, I will warm the heart that was once hurt. Just like when we were children, she warmed me with that orange candy. A year later, I proposed to Sophia. In her favorite sunflower field, I knelt on one knee, holding out the ring, looking at her, my voice trembling. Sophia, will you marry me? Sophia looked at me, her eyes reddening, and she nodded. I slipped the ring onto her finger and held her tightly, as if embracing the whole world. Thank you, Sophia. Thank you for being willing to give me another chance. The wedding was simple. Only close family and friends were invited. Sophia wore a white wedding dress, beautiful like an angel. When we exchanged rings, she looked at me, her eyes shining. Ethan, you mustn't bully me anymore. I won't. I held her hand, my gaze serious, not for the rest of my life. I will spend my whole life loving her, protecting her, and making up for the mistakes I once made. Just like that promise I silently made at 6 years old. to always protect the little girl who handed me the last candy. Married life was simple and warm. Sophia still painted. While she worked, I would make her a cup of warm milk and sit beside her to look over documents. Sunlight poured through the floor-to-ceiling window, falling on her paper and on our intertwined hands. She would sometimes have nightmares, dreaming she was back in that villa where I had imprisoned her. Each time she woke up, she would clutch my hand tightly, trembling all over. I would hold her in my arms, gently pat her back, and whisper in her ear over and over, "Sophia, don't be afraid. I'm here. It won't happen again." Only after she had slowly fallen asleep in my arms would I dare close my eyes, my heart full of guilt. I knew the scars left by those injuries would take time to heal, but I had a lifetime to warm her, to heal her. On weekends, we would go to the wet market together. She would haggle with the vendors over a few cents, and I would stand by laughing at her. After we got home, she would tie on an apron and busy herself in the kitchen while I helped her, occasionally sneaking a bite of a dish she had just made. She would swat my hand playfully, her eyes full of amusement. Once, we passed the alley in the old town and saw that Sophia's former studio had been refurbished and turned into a flower shop, with sunflowers stacked up at the entrance. Sophia stopped, looking at the flower shop with a complicated expression. I held her hand and said softly, "Let the past stay in the past." She turned her head, looked at me, and smiled. Sunlight fell on her face, and her smile was as radiant as a sunflower. I knew we were both slowly getting better. Those bad memories are like faded old photographs. They're still there, but they no longer pierce us. One day, Sophia stayed in the studio for a long time. When she came out, she was holding a painting. It was a painting of the two of us sitting in a field of sunflowers. She was leaning on my shoulder, smiling with her eyes crescent-shaped. In the lower right corner of the painting was a small inscription, "Ethan, please take care of me for the rest of my life." I looked at the painting, felt my eyes sting, and pulled her into my arms. "All right, please take care of me for the rest of my life, my Sophia." The sunlight outside was just right, and the scent of gardenias drifted in, sweet, just like that orange candy she stuffed into my hand when we were 6. It turns out some sweetness can truly be remembered for a lifetime. It turns out some love, even if it takes detours, will eventually find its home. I lower my head and gently press a kiss to her forehead. "Thank you, my girl, for being willing to give me one more chance, letting me spend the rest of my life loving you." "George, I've got good news and bad news. Which do you want to hear first?" I put down my paintbrush and looked at my friend Frank. He stood at the studio door with a mysterious air, his face a mix of nervousness and excitement. "Let's start with the bad news. After all, I've gotten used to it these past 3 years. Your painting, Eternity, just sold for a sky-high price. Over $6 million. I frowned. "How is that bad news?" Frank chuckled. "Because it's actually part of the good news. The bad news is, buddy, you might need to see a psychiatrist." "What do you mean?" "A woman who looks exactly like Mary showed up at your art exhibition. I almost thought I was seeing a ghost." The paintbrush slipped from my hand and fell to the floor, splattering paint across the unfinished canvas. "Mary, my late wife, died 3 years ago after accidentally falling off a cliff. I watched with my own eyes as her body was pulled from the water. In that moment, my world completely collapsed." "Stop joking around, Frank. Why would I lie to you? She even left this." Frank handed me a note, with an address and a time written on it. My hand trembled slightly. The handwriting was exactly the same as Mary's. That night, I waited until midnight at the designated cafe. Just as I was about to leave, a familiar figure appeared at the door. Mary? No, it couldn't be her. But every gesture of that woman, from the tips of her hair to her fingertips, was a shadow of Mary. "George, it's been a long time." She sat across from me, and the familiar voice nearly made my heart stop. "Who are you?" I struggled to remain calm. "I'm Mary, your wife." She smiled and reached out her hand. There was a scar on her palm, the mark Mary got when she accidentally cut herself on glass at 15. "Impossible. Mary is already dead." She laughed softly. "That was just an accident. I fell off the cliff and was saved by a reclusive old doctor. I lost my memory from the injuries and only recently remembered everything." As she spoke, Tears began to fall, an expression I knew all too well, the look Mary wore whenever she felt wronged. I know it's hard to believe, but I really am Mary. I couldn't believe my eyes. The shade of lipstick Mary loved most, the faint little mole beneath her left ear, the unconscious habit of rubbing her ring while speaking. Everything was so familiar. Are you really Mary? She nodded and took a small box out of her bag. This is the proof. Inside the box was the first piece of jewelry Mary ever designed. A sapphire ring, the only one of its kind, never mass-produced. I brought it with me that day because I wanted to surprise you. I suddenly stood up and pulled her into my arms. 3 years of longing surged over me like a tide. I held her tightly, afraid that if I let go, she would disappear again. On the way home, she told me about her experiences over the past 3 years. She was rescued by an old doctor in the mountains, lost her memory due to a severe head injury, and lived in a remote mountain village for more than 2 years. It wasn't until she happened to see a poster for my art exhibition that her memory gradually returned. The next day, I took her to see Frank. Oh my God, it really is you, Mary. Frank stared in astonishment, eyes wide. Frank, it's been a long time. She greeted him with a smile, exactly as I remembered. Frank pulled me aside and whispered, Man, this is unbelievable, but I really believe it's her. Who else but Mary could call me by my childhood nickname so accurately? That was something only the two of you knew. A week later, Mary officially returned. We held a small welcome party for her. Her mother was so overwhelmed that she fainted, and when she woke up, she clung to her daughter and refused to let go. But that night, I noticed the first sign that something was off. Mary never ate mangoes because she was severely allergic. Yet the returned Mary absent-mindedly tasted a mango dessert and was perfectly fine. Aren't you allergic to mangoes? I asked. She paused for a moment, then quickly laughed and said, Oh, that old Chinese doctor cured my allergy. He's really amazing. I nodded, but in my heart, I marked the first question mark. Is this really my wife? A month passed quickly, and Mary blended perfectly into our lives. She knew the location of every item in the house, remembered our shared memories, and could even accurately name friends we hadn't contacted in years. But those subtle feelings of discord kept growing. For example, the real Mary liked to listen to classical music, especially Debussy, while designing jewelry. But she would always unconsciously hum along to pop songs. Mary always habitually used her left hand to hold chopsticks, even though she knew it was wrong. She just couldn't change. But she was a standard right-handed user. The most obvious difference appeared that night when I accidentally caught her smoking in the bedroom. The real Mary hated the smell of smoke. Even when I came home from social events with a faint scent of cigarettes, she would frown. When did you start smoking? I stood at the doorway, my voice soft. She was clearly startled, hastily snuffing out the cigarette. This is a herbal cigarette for treating insomnia, prescribed by an old Chinese doctor. I nodded, not pressing further, but the doubts in my heart only grew deeper. The next day, I went to find Frank. Help me check if, in the past 3 years, plastic surgery technology has advanced enough to achieve this level. Frank's eyes widened. You mean, she's not Mary? I'm not sure, but there are always some things that don't add up. 2 days later, Frank brought news. High-end plastic surgery can make faces look similar, but it can't replicate the exact placement of scars or moles. And there's a limit to how well someone can imitate a voice. What if it was a twin? Frank shook his head. Mary is an only child. We all know that. I decided not to show my feelings for now and to keep observing. A week later, Mary's mother came to my house with astonishing news. George, Mary is going to have a baby, my mother-in-law told me excitedly. I stood there stunned. Before we got married, Mary had been diagnosed with uterine hypoplasia. The doctor had made it clear she could never get pregnant. This was our shared secret. Not even my mother-in-law knew. How do you know that? I managed to ask. Mary told me this morning. She said she already had a checkup. It's been 2 months. My mother-in-law happily grabbed my hand. It's a blessing from above. Mary survived death, and now she can bring us new life. My heart sank to the bottom. This absolutely could not be Mary. That night, I dug out the hospital's diagnosis certificate in my study, which clearly stated the condition of Mary's uterus. But when I wanted to talk to Mary about it, I found her in the bedroom, excitedly discussing the decoration of the nursery with my mother-in-law. Mary, could you come here for a moment? I called her calmly. She followed me into the study, still wearing a blissful smile on her face. Did you forget about this? I handed her the diagnosis certificate. She took it and glanced at it, her face instantly turning pale. George, I can explain. Explain what? Explain that you're not Mary at all. Mother-in-law heard the commotion and walked in. What's going on with you two? Mom, take a look at this. I handed her the proof. My mother-in-law read it, then looked at Mary in astonishment. What's going on? Mary, you can't have children. Of course she can, I sneered, because she's not Mary at all. My mother-in-law's face changed dramatically. What nonsense are you talking about? I can explain. She hurriedly grabbed my mother-in-law's hand. That old Chinese doctor not only saved my life, but also cured my uterine problem. It's a miracle, truly. My mother-in-law looked at me, then at her, hesitating. George, you're being too paranoid. My mother-in-law finally took her daughter's side. Mary has come back with great difficulty. You should cherish her, not doubt her. Yes, George, I know this is hard to accept, but miracles do happen. Tears welled up in her eyes. Haven't we always wanted a child? Now we can finally have our own baby. I looked at her face, identical to Mary's, yet I became more certain in my heart. This woman was not my wife. All right, I believe you. I smiled, deciding to go along with their story for now. Let's wait together for this miracle to happen. That night, I secretly contacted a private detective. My mother-in-law gladly accepted her daughter's explanation, even suggesting she move in with us to take care of Mary during her pregnancy. Outwardly, I agreed, but inside I grew even more wary. This was no coincidence. There had to be some kind of plot. Mom, haven't you always lived in Haicheng? Won't it be hard to get used to living here? I probed cautiously. For my grandson, I'm willing to endure any inconvenience, my mother-in-law said firmly. I noticed a fleeting unnatural expression on Mary's face. Could the truth be connected to my mother-in-law? On the third day after my mother-in-law moved in, I discovered more suspicious details. For example, the real Mary never drank coffee, but she and my mother-in-law often enjoyed it together. Also, Mary's favorite movie was Roman Holiday, but she claimed to prefer Titanic. The strangest thing is, Mary used to despise her cousin Tom when she was alive, but now he visits frequently and chats and laughs with Mary as if they're old friends. I told Frank about these discoveries. Buddy, things are getting more and more suspicious, Frank frowned. Are you sure you want to keep going like this? Why not just expose her directly? It's not the right time yet. I want to find out what they're really after. The private detective's investigation also made progress. The so-called old Chinese doctor who had saved Mary did not exist at all, and Mary's whereabouts over the past 3 years were completely untraceable. More importantly, the private detective uncovered a shocking fact during the investigation. Mary's cousin Tom was deeply in debt from gambling, and the painting Eternity under my name, worth over $6 million, was his only hope for quick cash. They're after your painting, the private detective asserted, and this fake Mary is likely a professional identity fraudster, hired to win your trust. I took a deep breath and decided to take the initiative. That afternoon, I pretended to go out, but secretly returned home and hid in the study. Sure enough, Mary and her cousin Tom were whispering to each other in the living room. It's taking too long, Tom said irritably. How much longer until he sells the painting? Don't worry, she soothed him. I'm already pregnant, and now he completely believes I'm Mary. In a little while, I'll say I want to move to a better neighborhood for the sake of the baby, and then we'll naturally need to sell the painting to raise money. You're really pregnant? That wasn't part of the plan. It was an accident, but it works to our advantage. George wants a child so badly. Does Annie know the truth? She only knows we're trying to scam money, not the specific plan. But she hates George, thinks he caused her daughter's death, so she's more than happy to help. I clenched my fists. So my mother-in-law had always believed that Mary's accident was somehow my fault. In fact, we did argue over something trivial that day, and Mary stormed out in anger. I didn't try to stop her. But I never imagined it would be the last time I'd see her. You don't actually have feelings for George, do you? Tom suddenly asked. She was silent for a moment. It's just part of the job. Besides, I owe you, and I won't go back on my word. Good then. Don't forget how we're splitting the money once we get it. Their conversation confirmed my suspicions. This was all an elaborate scheme, with my eternity as the target. In the days that followed, I pretended everything was normal while secretly making preparations. I contacted the police, arranged for evidence-gathering equipment, and found the last piece Mary had left before she died, a silver necklace that had never been made public, engraved with an anniversary date only the two of us knew. 2 weeks later, my art exhibition was held as scheduled. As planned, Mary brought up the idea of moving, hinting that I could sell eternity. I pretended to agree and said I would auction the painting on the last day of the exhibition. "This is a surprise I prepared for you," I said on the eve of the exhibition, taking out a delicate box. "To celebrate the new life we're about to begin." She opened the box in surprise, and inside was the silver necklace. "It's beautiful, thank you." She smiled as she prepared to put it on. "Wait," I stopped her. "Aren't you going to look at the engraving on the back?" She turned the necklace over, and her face suddenly went pale. "What's wrong? Don't you like it?" I asked, feigning ignorance. "No, I really like it. It's just, I'm a bit moved." She forced a smile, but didn't know how to explain that she couldn't recognize the significance of that date. "See you tomorrow. Get some good rest, and don't forget to wear this necklace." I kissed her forehead and whispered in her ear, "After all, this is your final design." Her body visibly stiffened for a moment, but she kept smiling. "Of course, I cherish it very much. Tomorrow, the truth will come to light." On the day of the exhibition, the place was packed with people. My painting, Eternity, was displayed in the most prominent spot, right next to the last batch of jewelry designs Mary had created before her death. Mary held my arm, flawlessly playing the role of my wife as always. She had even gone out of her way to wear Mary's favorite white dress and the silver necklace I had given her last night. My mother-in-law and Tom were there too. The three of them exchanged glances from time to time, clearly waiting for the perfect moment. Frank appeared as planned, pretending to be extremely interested in Eternity and asking me about the auction details. "The auction will begin promptly at 4 in the afternoon, I replied with a smile. "This painting means a great deal to me, and I hope it finds someone who truly appreciates it." Mary immediately chimed in, "Yes, although it's hard to part with it, this is a necessary decision for our future." I noticed she glanced at Tom, who gave a barely perceptible nod. At 3:30 in the afternoon, the projector in the center of the exhibition hall lit up. This was the special segment I had arranged. "Ladies and gentlemen, I stood in front of Eternity. Before the auction begins, I'd like to share a little story about this painting." Mary's photo appeared on the projection screen, a group picture from her last birthday party before she passed away. 3 years ago, my wife Mary died in an accident. I created this painting, Eternity, in her memory. The woman in the painting has her back to the viewer, forever gazing into the distance, symbolizing a longing I can never reach. A soft sigh rippled through the crowd. Mary stood beside me, matching my words with a sorrowful expression. However, a month ago, a miracle happened. I turned to look at Mary. My wife came back. The whole room erupted in astonishment, and many people curiously sized up, "Mary. This is my wife, Mary." I took her hand and stepped forward. "Back from the dead, it's truly the greatest blessing heaven could have given me." She smiled and nodded to everyone, while my mother-in-law and Tom stood by with smug expressions. However, my tone suddenly shifted. Amidst my joy, a question arose. "Is she really Mary?" The entire room fell silent. Mary's hand trembled slightly in my palm. So, I did some investigating. The projector switched to a set of comparison photos. On the left was the real Mary. On the right was a photo of her. They look exactly the same, don't they? But I clicked the remote, and the photo was enlarged, the details highlighted. The position of the piercing on the left ear was slightly different, the arch of the eyebrows subtly varied, and the fine lines at the corners of the eyes ran in different directions. These are details that even professional plastic surgery cannot fully replicate. Mary tried to pull her hand away, but I held on tightly. My mother-in-law and Tom also began to grow anxious, glancing toward the exit. More importantly, the real Mary has a feature that cannot be copied. I turned to Mary. "The necklace I gave you last night has a date engraved on the back. Can you tell everyone what that date is?" She opened her mouth, but no words came out. "That was the due date of our first child, the one we lost." I spoke softly, my voice trembling with emotion. "Mary designed this necklace to commemorate the baby we never got to meet. The date was our secret, only Mary and I knew." The room fell utterly silent. Mary turned deathly pale, my mother-in-law's eyes widened, and Tom had already started edging toward the door. What surprised me even more, I continued, was that the real Mary could never get pregnant due to an underdeveloped uterus. Yet this, Mary claims she's already 2 months along. I let go of her hand and took a step back. So, who are you really? A flicker of despair flashed in Mary's eyes, but she quickly regained her composure. I am Mary, it's just that old Chinese doctor. The non-existent old Chinese doctor, right? I sneered. Just like the non-existent amnesia, the non-existent miraculous recovery. I turned toward the projection screen. Let's see the truth. The screen played the secretly recorded video of her conversation with Tom, their discussion on how to swindle eternity, clearly audible. This isn't. She tried to explain, but my mother-in-law had already rushed forward. Who are you really? My mother-in-law screamed. You're not my daughter? Auntie, stop pretending, I said calmly. You know she's not Mary. You just wanted to get back at me, didn't you? My mother-in-law's face turned pale. I didn't know she was going to impersonate Mary. Tom just said he needed help to scam some money. Police. Don't move. Several plainclothes officers emerged from the crowd, blocking Tom as he tried to escape. Amid the chaos, Mary took the opportunity to shove me aside and run toward the exit. I chased after her and caught up in the parking lot. Tell me, who are you really? She finally stopped, turned to face me, tears welling in her eyes. My name is Luna. I'm an actress. Tom found me and said if I helped trick you out of a painting, he'd give me $1 million. I needed the money for my sister's medical treatment. Why did they choose me? Why Mary? She shook her head. I don't know. They gave me a lot of information, photos, videos, even your chat logs. I was just following the script. The police arrived and took her away. I stood where I was, gazing at the distant sky, my heart a tumult of emotions. Back in the exhibition hall, the crowd had already dispersed, leaving only Frank and a few police officers. It's all been cleared up, Frank walked over. Tom owed money to loan sharks and was desperate. Your mother-in-law always resented you for not saving Mary, so she helped them plan the whole thing. I walked up to eternity, gently caressing the back of the woman in the painting. Mary, I can finally give you an answer. The police left with the evidence. Frank patted me on the shoulder. What do you plan to do next? I took a deep breath. Prepare for the final painting. What will it be called? The Pursuit, I said softly. This time, I'll paint her face, not just her back. After the case was solved, my life seemed to return to where it was 3 years ago. Eternity was temporarily held by the court as crucial evidence. Tom and Luna were arrested for fraud, and my mother-in-law was investigated as an accomplice. The prosecution wants you to testify in court, the officer called to inform me. The trial is scheduled for early next month. I agreed, though I was utterly exhausted inside. After exposing the deception, I thought I would feel the thrill of revenge, but what I felt instead was a profound emptiness. Those days spent with Mary that month had allowed me to feel a trace of warmth in life again, even if that warmth was born of lies. Frank often came to see me, worried I might fall into despair once more. I told him not to worry, that I was working on a new piece, The Pursuit. Are you really going to paint Mary's face from the front? Frank asked curiously. For the past 3 years, you've always refused to do that. It's time, I replied. We can't live in the past forever. I moved out of the apartment I had shared with Mary and returned to the old house in the suburbs, the place where the real Mary and I had first made our home. The dust-laden memories in the house brought me both pain and comfort. Mary's studio remained just as she had left it, design sketches scattered across the table, unfinished jewelry drafts pinned to the drawing board. One afternoon, while sorting through Mary's belongings, I discovered an encrypted external hard drive. After several attempts, I finally unlocked it using our wedding anniversary as the password. Inside were backups of Mary's design works, along with some personal photos and videos. One folder in particular caught my attention. Inside a folder named Plan was a series of jewelry design sketches, labeled George's Birthday Special Project. It was then I remembered that, in the months before Mary passed away, she often spoke mysteriously about giving me an unparalleled birthday surprise. Leafing through these design drafts, I couldn't help but be moved to tears. Mary had planned to design a jewelry collection inspired by my paintings over the years, with each piece corresponding to a representative work from my artistic career. The last page was a sketch of a ring, with a dark red stone set in the center, its edges adorned with tiny diamonds, closely resembling the sunrise in my early work dawn. This is blood amber? I examined the notes carefully, confirming the name of this rare gemstone. Mary's designs had always been bold, but blood amber is extremely rare in the Chinese market, almost impossible to acquire. How did she obtain such a material? As I continued searching, I found a series of email correspondence screenshots. Mary had actually contacted a gemstone dealer in Myanmar, commissioning the blood amber specifically for this ring. The last email showed that the gem had already been shipped, but the date was exactly 1 week before Mary's death. I immediately called Frank. Help me check if there was a package sent from Myanmar 3 years ago, addressed to Mary. 2 days later, Frank brought news. The package did exist, but since no one signed for it, it was returned. However, according to the shipping records, it was resent a month ago, this time addressed to you. What? I was completely confused. I haven't received any package. Check your old apartment? Frank suggested. Back at my old apartment, the manager told me there was indeed a package, but it had been signed for by Mary. She said it was a surprise for you, so she didn't notify you, the manager explained. This meant Luna had taken the blood amber. I rushed to the detention center and requested to see Luna. Separated by glass, she looked much more haggard than the last time we met, but still wore that face so similar to Mary's. What are you doing here? She asked coldly. A month ago, you signed for a package from Myanmar. There was a blood amber inside. I want to know where it is. She looked surprised. How did you know? Tom asked me to sign for it. He said it was some precious gem. He took it. My heart sank. Tom was deep in gambling debt. A precious blood amber would be a windfall for him. He had probably sold it long ago. That blood amber is very important to me, I said softly. It was the last gift my wife left me. Luna was silent for a moment, then suddenly said, maybe it's not that bad. Tom said the stone has flaws, its value is greatly reduced, and he hasn't found a suitable buyer yet. Hope was rekindled. If Tom hadn't sold the blood amber yet, maybe there was still a chance to get it back. Do you know where he might hide it? Luna hesitated for a moment. He has a safe deposit box in a self-storage facility on the east side of the city. After getting the address, I immediately contacted the officer in charge of the case and explained the situation. Since Tom was involved in a large sum of money, the police quickly approved the search request. Mr. George, we've found the safe deposit box, the officer said over the phone. Inside, we did find the blood amber you described, as well as some other evidence. A few hours later, I retrieved the blood amber at the police station. It was even more beautiful than I had imagined. Within the dark red core, wisps of mist seemed to swirl, shifting strangely under the light. This was the birthday gift Mary had so carefully chosen for me, waiting for 3 years. Back home, I carefully placed the blood amber beside the canvas of the pursuit. The painting was already more than half finished, Mary's face emerging from the blur into clarity, yet it still felt like something was missing. Watching the blood amber glimmer faintly under the light, I suddenly understood how I should complete the painting. The creation of the pursuit entered its final stage. I decided to break convention and incorporate the blood amber into the artwork. This would not only be a portrait, but a hybrid piece that fused painting with the art of jewelry. Are you sure you want to do this? Frank frowned. That blood amber is priceless. That's exactly why, I said firmly. Mary chose it for me. She wanted to inspire an unparalleled masterpiece. I will fulfill her wish. For 2 whole weeks, I worked day and night, neglecting sleep and food. I cut the blood amber into thin slices and inlaid them at the spot of Mary's eyes on the canvas, making her gaze truly come alive. I used a special technique to blend the surrounding paint, creating a harmonious transition with the gemstone. From certain angles, the entire painting seemed to be imbued with life, and Mary's expression would shift depending on where the viewer stood. On the day I finished the piece, Frank brought news. Luna had been sentenced to 3 years in prison, but due to her good attitude in confessing, she might serve only 1.5 years. Tom, involved in multiple fraud cases, was sentenced to 7 years. My mother-in-law, as an accomplice, received a suspended sentence. The case is finally over, Frank said. Are you planning to exhibit your painting? Yes. Next month there will be a solo exhibition at the National Art Museum, and The Pursuit will be the grand finale. The curator couldn't stop praising this piece, believing it represents the innovative direction of contemporary art and marks the pinnacle of my career. Indeed, this painting, which incorporates Mary's jewelry design concepts, is in some sense a creation we made together. On the eve of the exhibition, I checked the arrangement in the gallery alone one last time, making sure every piece was perfectly lit and positioned. When I reached The Pursuit, I couldn't help but stop and gaze at it. Mary's face was vividly lifelike, her eyes inlaid with blood amber gleaming under the spotlight, as if she were smiling at me. For the first time in 3 years, I faced her directly, no longer painting only her back. "Mr. George," a stranger's voice called from behind. "Sorry to disturb you, but the gallery has been cleared." He turned around to see a young woman dressed in the museum's staff uniform. "And you are?" "I'm the new curator, responsible for security in your exhibition area," she explained with a smile. "I really like your work, especially this piece, The Pursuit." "Thank you." I nodded. "I'll be leaving soon." She didn't leave, but continued to gaze at the painting. "That red gem is beautiful, almost as if it's alive." "It's blood amber," I explained, "a very rare gemstone." "I know," she said softly, "top-grade blood amber from Myanmar, containing plant fossils, extremely rare." I looked at her in surprise. "You know a lot about jewelry?" She smiled. "I study jewelry design. I'm just working part-time here." For some reason, Mary suddenly came to mind. She, too, had an almost obsessive passion for and expertise in gemstones. "If you don't mind me asking, who is the woman in this painting?" she asked. "My wife," I replied. "She passed away 3 years ago. She was a jewelry designer." "I'm very sorry," she said sincerely, then gestured toward the blood amber. "This gem must mean a great deal to you. It was the last birthday gift she chose for me before she died, but I only found it recently." She nodded thoughtfully. "Setting it into her portrait is the best way to remember her." For some reason, talking with this unfamiliar woman brought me a strange sense of calm. Perhaps it was her love for jewelry that reminded me of Mary. "Sorry, I have to continue my rounds." She glanced at her watch. "See you tomorrow, Mr. George." "See you tomorrow," I replied, watching her leave. On the way home, I felt an unusual peace. The completion of The Pursuit seemed to mark the end of my search for Mary as well. Not forgetting, but remembering her forever in another way. The next day, the exhibition's opening ceremony attracted numerous figures from the art world and the media. The Pursuit undoubtedly became the center of attention, with people marveling at this innovative form of artistic expression. Amid the crowd, I noticed that curator standing aside, watching as well. Sunlight streamed through the skylight of the gallery, falling upon her, and for a fleeting moment, I thought I saw Mary's shadow. No, I shook my head, warning myself not to be deceived by mere resemblance. There would never be another Mary in this world, just as there would never be another unique blood amber. After the exhibition, The Pursuit was purchased by an anonymous collector for an astronomical price. I donated all the proceeds to a foundation supporting students in jewelry design, establishing a scholarship in Mary's name. Life slowly moved forward, and I began to accept new commissions and create new works. Occasionally, I would think of that curator with a unique insight into jewelry, wondering if she was still working at the art museum. Until one day, I received an email from HL. There were no words, only an image. A sketch of a ring design, the style strikingly similar to Mary's unfinished series. My heart raced as I replied immediately. "Who is this?" The response came quickly. "Yesterday, you brushed past me by the cafe on the street corner, but you didn't recognize me. If you want to know more, wait for me at the museum entrance at noon tomorrow." Is it that librarian? How could she have a design so reminiscent of Mary's style? Filled with anxiety and anticipation, I decided to accept the invitation and find out for myself. The next day at noon, I arrived at the art museum half an hour early. The sun was shining, and small groups of visitors were coming and going from the exhibition hall. But there was no sign of the mysterious person. Just as I began to suspect this might be some kind of prank, a faint trace of perfume drifted by, a scent unfamiliar to me, yet it inexplicably reminded me of Mary. "Mr. George, thank you for coming." The voice behind me made me turn around. It was the curator. Today, she wasn't wearing her uniform, but a simple white dress, completely different from Mary's style when she was alive. "Did you send the email?" I asked directly. She nodded. "There are some things I want to tell you, but not here. Will you come with me?" We walked through the small park beside the art museum and arrived at a secluded cafe. The whole time, I kept observing her. Her mannerisms, the way she walked, none of it resembled Mary. Yet her sensitivity to detail and her focused attention gave me a strange sense of familiarity. Who are you, really? The moment we sat down, I couldn't wait to ask. My name is Nicole. She looked me straight in the eye. I'm Mary's student. This answer caught me off guard. Mary had indeed taught jewelry design part-time at the Design Academy before she passed away, but she had never mentioned having any particularly close students. I took her advanced design class the year before she passed, Nicole explained. Her guidance benefited me for a lifetime. That still doesn't explain why your designs resemble her style so much, I said, half convinced. Nicole took a folder out of her bag. These are all notes from Ms. Nicole's class and her feedback on my work. You can look at the handwriting and confirm that it's really hers. I carefully examined the materials. It was indeed Mary's handwriting. There were even traces of the pale purple ink she habitually used. Before Ms. Nicole passed away, she was guiding me on my graduation project, Nicole continued. The theme was interwoven light and shadow, blending Eastern and Western aesthetic elements. She gave me a lot of valuable advice, and even showed me a sketch from a private project she was working on at the time. George's special birthday project? I blurted out. Nicole's eyes widened in surprise. You know about it? I only found out recently. I briefly explained the origin of the blood amber. I knew that blood amber would eventually find its way back to you, Nicole said with a smile. Nicole always said it was a destined gift. Is that why you contacted me? Because you saw the blood amber? Nicole was silent for a moment, as if choosing her words carefully. Not entirely. After Nicole passed away, I've been trying to carry on the design philosophy she taught me. Some time ago, I happened to see the news about your eternity being stolen, and then I saw someone impersonating Nicole. I thought I should tell you a few things. She took a letter out of her bag. This is the last letter Nicole gave me after class before she passed away. She said if her surprise plan went smoothly, I should show you this letter. If anything went wrong and she was gone, I should still make sure you see it. I took the envelope. It was indeed Mary's handwriting, and it read, "To my dearest husband." The envelope had already been opened. I didn't know what was in the letter at the time. I just kept it as Nicole instructed, Nicole explained. It wasn't until I saw the news that I opened it. I hope you won't blame me. I carefully took out the letter paper and unfolded it to read. Dear George, if you are reading this letter, perhaps my surprise plan has gone awry. Don't worry, it's just that the plan has changed, and the form of the gift may be different now. The blood amber I picked for you is said to be known as the Eye of Rebirth. Legend has it that looking at the world through it reveals truths that are often overlooked. I hope it can become a turning point in your artistic career, leading you to see new possibilities. All these years, your paintings have always depicted backs, as if you're afraid to face something head-on. I hope this gemstone will give you the courage to paint the front, to capture true emotions. No matter what happens, please remember, love does not disappear, it merely changes form, like this blood amber, which, after millions of years, transforms from resin into a gem, yet still shines. Forever loving you, Mary. The handwriting became a bit messy at the end, as if written in a hurry. I stroked the paper, as if I could feel Mary's emotions at that moment. Thank you, I said, my voice choked with emotion. This means a lot to me. You're welcome. I'm just fulfilling Ms. Nicole's request, Nicole said with a smile. Actually, there's one more thing I'd like to ask your help with. What is it? I'd like to apply for the Mary Scholarship you established, she said, taking a design portfolio out of her bag. This is my graduation project, combining Ms. Nicole's ideas with my own innovations. As I flipped through the portfolio, I was surprised to find that while these designs bore traces of Mary's influence, they also possessed a unique style and innovative touches. In particular, a series called Metamorphosis cleverly combined jewelry with transformable elements, allowing the pieces to change form according to the wearer's mood and occasion. This is outstanding, I praised sincerely. Mary would be proud of you. A hint of joy flashed in Nicole's eyes. Really? I've always worried I couldn't live up to her expectations. You've already moved beyond the learning stage and developed your own style. That's exactly what she hoped to see. As we talked, sunlight streamed through the window and fell on Nicole. In that moment, I seemed to understand something. When Mary spoke of love changing its form, perhaps she wasn't just referring to the blood amber, but also to her passion for art and its legacy. Luna tried to impersonate Mary by mimicking her appearance, but she could never truly replicate who she was. Nicole, on the other hand, looked nothing like Mary, yet she inherited a part of her artistic vision and spirit. Perhaps this is the true gift Mary left me, not the blood amber, but a new possibility, a path out of the past. Nicole's graduation exhibition was held in a small gallery. Though the space was modest, it was exquisitely arranged. Her works were divided into 3 series, representing the past, the present, and the future, forming a complete narrative. This is a brilliant idea, I sincerely praised. From tradition to contemporary and then to the future, it showcases the evolution and possibilities of jewelry design. Nicole smiled and nodded. This was inspired by teacher Nicole. She always says that good design should look back at history, be grounded in the present, and look forward to the future. As I walked through the exhibition hall, I noticed a special display case in the corner, containing only one piece, a seemingly simple ring with a small red gemstone set in the center. This is. I leaned in to read the label, which said, "In memory, dedicated to teacher Mary." Yes, I made it from a small piece of blood amber I bought with my own savings, Nicole explained. It can't compare to the quality of yours, but it's also from Myanmar. I examined the design of the ring closely. Clean, powerful lines with fine silver threads encircling the blood amber, as if protecting the central gem, yet also seeming to radiate light outward. This is very similar to Mary's final design style, I said softly, but it also has your own unique touch. I wanted to create a piece that could both commemorate teacher Nicole and showcase my own style, Nicole explained. The blood amber represents her influence, while the outer design is the direction of my own development. The exhibition attracted quite a few industry insiders, including some well-known figures from the jewelry design world. After viewing the exhibition, an older female designer approached Nicole and offered her an internship opportunity. I stood by, genuinely happy for Nicole. In the evening, as the exhibition was drawing to a close, Frank arrived as well. Seeing me with Nicole, he gave me a knowing smile. "New friend?" he asked me quietly. "Mary's student," I explained simply. "Very talented." Frank nodded without asking further questions. After touring the exhibition, he gave high praise to Nicole's work. It blends traditional and modern elements, demonstrating both technical skill and artistic expression, quite rare. Nicole thanked him politely. This wouldn't have been possible without the guidance of teacher Nicole and teacher George. After the exhibition, the 3 of us went to a nearby restaurant for dinner. During the meal, Frank talked about recent trends in the art market, while Nicole shared her insights on contemporary jewelry design. The conversation was light and pleasant, and I realized it had been a long time since I had relaxed and chatted with others like this. After a few rounds of drinks, Frank received an urgent call and left early. Only Nicole and I remained in the restaurant, and the atmosphere suddenly became a bit quiet. "Mr. George," Nicole hesitated for a moment before speaking. "I've always had a question I wanted to ask you." "What is it?" "After you finished The Pursuit, what are you planning to create next?" The question caught me off guard. To be honest, ever since The Pursuit, I haven't had any new inspiration. That painting seemed to have drained all my emotions and creativity. "I haven't decided yet," I answered honestly. "It might take some time to find a new direction." Nicole nodded thoughtfully. Nicole once said that the hardest thing for an artist isn't creating a stunning masterpiece, but finding a way forward after reaching the peak. She really did say that, I recalled with a smile. Mary always saw further than I did. "Maybe," Nicole said softly, "you could try a new direction that combines your work with jewelry design? Like in The Pursuit, but taking it even further." I recalled what Mary mentioned in her letter about seeing new possibilities, and suddenly I was inspired. "You mean creating a series of works that combine painting and jewelry?" "Exactly," Nicole said excitedly. "Your paintings create emotion in 2-dimensional space, while jewelry gives it tangible form in the 3-dimensional world. The combination of the two would have an astonishing effect." The more we talked, the more engaged we became, even sketching a few concept designs on the restaurant's napkins. Nicole's ideas were fresh and bold, perfectly aligning with my artistic vision, yet bringing a new perspective. As we left the restaurant, Nicole suddenly said, "I have to confess something." I looked at her in confusion. "I reached out to you not only to deliver Nicole's letter, but also for a personal reason. I hope to learn from you," she said candidly. "I want to become a designer like Nicole, someone who not only creates beautiful works but also perfectly blends art with emotion." Her sincerity moved me. "You're already on that path, and you're doing very well." Then, May I consult you often? She asked a little nervously. Of course, I'd be delighted. On the way home, a series of new works already began to take shape in my mind. A cross-disciplinary art that fuses painting and jewelry, both as a tribute to Mary and as a new starting point in my artistic career. That night, I had a dream. In the dream, Mary stood in a halo of blood-red light, smiling at me and saying, "See, I knew you would find a new direction." When I woke up, I got out of bed immediately and began sketching for the new series. I decided to name it Rebirth. Not only representing the ancient life forever preserved in blood amber, but also symbolizing the rebirth of my artistic career, as well as the inheritance and development of Mary's artistic vision. A week later, I submitted a new series proposal to the gallery and received an enthusiastic response. The curator even suggested holding a special exhibition themed Between Dimensions, a dialogue between painting and jewelry. For this project, I invited Nicole to join the team as a jewelry design consultant. She had just graduated from design school and was both excited and nervous about the opportunity. "Am I really up to the task?" she asked me in the studio. "You understand Mary's design philosophy better than anyone," I assured her. "That's exactly what I need." In the days that followed, we worked at a feverish pace. We created during the day and discussed at night, sometimes even working through until dawn. Nicole's ideas flowed endlessly, and I transformed those thoughts into concrete artistic expressions. In the process, I rediscovered the pure joy of creation that I hadn't felt in a long time. One late night, when we finally finished the design for our first piece, Nicole clapped her hands excitedly. "This is amazing. Teacher Nicole will definitely love it." At the mention of Mary, she suddenly realized her slip and looked at me nervously. "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to." "It's all right," I said with a smile. "I think Mary really would like it. She always hoped I could step out of my comfort zone and try new ways of expressing myself." Nicole let out a sigh of relief, then hesitantly asked, "Professor George, may I ask you a personal question?" "What is it?" "When you faced the woman impersonating Professor Nicole, how did you see through her? I mean, from the news reports, she seemed like an exact copy of Professor Nicole." I pondered for a moment. Superficial resemblance is easy to achieve, but a true personality cannot be duplicated. Mary's perception of art, her attitude toward life, the way she handled details, these were all unique. Just like a work of art, Nicole mused, no matter how perfect a replica is, it can never capture the soul of the original. Exactly. We worked through the night again, and finally established the overall framework for the Rebirth series. 7 pieces, each blending elements of painting and jewelry, together telling a story of loss and recovery, death and rebirth. As our collaboration deepened, my relationship with Nicole gradually shifted from teacher and student to partners, both mentor and friend. Sometimes, when the light traced the gentle contours of her focused profile, I would unconsciously think of Mary. But soon, I realized that this association wasn't due to any physical resemblance, but rather that same dedication and passion for art. "George, you look much more spirited lately," Frank remarked at a gathering. "It's been a while since I've seen you so full of life." "Yeah, the new project has helped me rediscover the joy of creating." "Nicole's a good girl," Frank said meaningfully. "Talented, and she really understands you." I understood his implication, but just smiled without responding. There was indeed a special understanding between Nicole and me, but it was more rooted in our shared passion for art than anything else. At least for now. The creation of the Rebirth series took 3 months, longer than expected, but the results were stunning. Each piece was a perfect fusion of painting and jewelry art, offering both the pleasure of viewing as a flat image and the discovery of 3-dimensional effects brought by the jewelry elements from different angles. A week before the exhibition opened, I received an unexpected visitor, Luna. She had served her sentence and was released early. She looked much more haggard than the last time we met, but her eyes were clearer. "I came to apologize to you in person." She stood at the studio door, her voice low, "for everything I have done." I didn't respond immediately, but simply invited her in to sit down. "I know that an apology can't make up for the loss," she continued, "but I want you to know that I truly regret it." "How is your sister's illness?" I asked. She looked up in surprise. You know. I guessed. You said you needed money for a reason, and I think that must have been true." Yes, she nodded. My sister's surgery was a success, and now she's fully recovered. For the past 3 years, I've been thinking about how to make up for my mistakes. Even though I may never be able to. I was silent for a moment, then said, "You know, in a way, your appearance actually helped me." "What do you mean?" "It forced me to confront the past, to re-examine my memories with Mary, and ultimately to find a way forward." I pointed to the sketches of the Rebirth series on the wall and briefly explained this new project. Luna listened quietly, a look of genuine respect in her eyes. "I'm glad you were able to find a new beginning from that nightmare," she said at last. "I hope I can find my own path to rebirth as well." As she left, she handed me a small package. "These are some simple pieces of jewelry I made in prison. The craftsmanship is rough, but each one represents my remorse and blessings. I hope you can accept them." Opening the package, I found several small trinkets handmade from fine wire and colorful glass beads. Though simple, it was clear the creator had poured their heart into them. Nicole happened to come into the studio at that moment. Seeing the trinkets, she asked curiously, "What are these?" I told her about Luna's visit. "You forgave her?" Nicole was a bit surprised. "Not exactly forgiveness," I said thoughtfully. "It's more like understanding. Everyone has their own hardships and choices. What's important is how we learn and grow from our mistakes." Nicole nodded pensively, picking up a piece of jewelry to examine it closely. "The craftsmanship is rough, but the concept is ingenious. This person seems to have a talent for design." "Perhaps," I said. "Everyone has the possibility of being reborn." On the day of the exhibition opening, numerous figures from the art and jewelry worlds gathered together. The Rebirth series received unprecedented acclaim. Critics called it a model of cross-disciplinary art, and the gallery owner was overjoyed, announcing plans for a nationwide tour. In the crowd, I saw Luna. She was dressed simply, standing quietly in a corner, admiring the exhibits. Our eyes met in the air. She nodded slightly, then walked away. "Who was that?" Nicole asked, standing beside me. "Someone searching for rebirth," I replied. Nicole seemed to understand and asked no more. We stood side by side before the pursuit, watching the blood amber refract a strange light under the lamps, like the silent burning of life's flame. "Thank you," I whispered to Nicole. "Without you, this series might never have come into being." "It was your philosophy that guided us, Teacher Nicole," she replied modestly. "I was just fortunate enough to be the messenger." In that moment, I suddenly understood the true meaning of what Mary had written in her letter. Love has changed its form. Love exists not only in memory and longing, but also in inheritance and innovation, shining brightly in every spark of artistic creation. And I, at last, had learned how to begin anew after loss, to embrace rebirth while still searching. The success of the exhibition exceeded everyone's expectations. In just 1 month, the Rebirth series was reported on by major media outlets and even attracted the attention of the international art world. A renowned auction house extended an olive branch to me, hoping to include several pieces in their annual highlight auction. "This is an unprecedented opportunity," Frank said excitedly. "If the deal goes through, you'll become a top player in the contemporary art market." I wasn't particularly concerned with commercial success, but I did feel the joy of having my work widely recognized. More importantly, this series opened up a new artistic path for me, freeing me from the creative shackles of the past 3 years. Nicole benefited as well. As the project's jewelry design consultant, she received high praise from the industry. Several well-known jewelry brands reached out to her, hoping she would join their design teams. "Which offer are you planning to accept?" One night, as we were tidying up the studio together, I asked her. "To be honest, I'm still hesitating." Nicole paused her work. "These are all great opportunities, but..." "But what?" "But I want to keep working with you." She looked straight into my eyes. "Rebirth is just the beginning, isn't it?" Her candor surprised me a little. Indeed, the success of this series had opened up many new creative possibilities for us, but I wasn't sure if I should continue such a close working relationship. "You should consider your own career development," I said tactfully. "These opportunities are very rare for young designers." Nicole seemed to sense my hesitation and nodded gently. "I understand." In the days that followed, we were both busy and rarely had the chance to talk alone. A week later, Nicole told me she had decided to accept an invitation from a French jewelry brand and would be going to Paris to work for 2 years. "Congratulations," I said sincerely. It's a very good choice. Thank you, she replied with a smile, though a fleeting, elusive emotion flashed in her eyes. I think this is the best arrangement for both of us. Before Nicole left, we held a small farewell party. Frank, the curator, and a few mutual friends came. The atmosphere was warm, tinged with a hint of sadness. After a few rounds of drinks, Frank found an opportunity to pull me aside. Are you really going to just let her go like this? What do you mean? I pretended not to understand. Don't play dumb, man, Frank said bluntly. You have feelings for her. That's obvious. That's just professional rapport, I argued. Is that so? Frank looked at me meaningfully. Then why have you been so distracted ever since she decided to go to France? I was at a loss for words. In fact, these past few days I had indeed felt an inexplicable sense of loss, but I kept telling myself it was only because I had lost an excellent partner. I know what you're worried about, Frank lowered his voice. You feel like you're letting Mary down, don't you? I remained silent. He had touched upon the deepest concern in my heart. Mary has been gone for 3 years now. Frank gently patted my shoulder. She would want you to be happy. After the party ended, I walked Nicole home. The night was tranquil as water, and the city lights flowed around us. Thank you for your help and guidance these past few months. Nicole stopped at the entrance of her apartment building. This experience has meant so much to me. I should be thanking you, I said sincerely. Without you, the Rebirth series would never have been completed. We fell into silence, as if both searching for the right words to say goodbye. My flight is the morning after tomorrow, Nicole finally said. I still have some things to take care of tomorrow. So, this is probably the last time we'll see each other. 2 years will pass quickly. I tried to make my voice sound light. Paris is a beautiful city. You'll like it there. She nodded, a complex emotion flickering in her eyes. Professor George, there's something I've always wanted to tell you, but never found the right opportunity. What is it? I chose to study jewelry design because I saw Nicole's works. She took a deep breath, or more precisely, because I saw the pieces Nicole designed for you. The way she perfectly fused love and art moved me deeply. I didn't know that, I said in surprise. I've always hoped that one day I could be like Nicole, creating art filled with emotion. Nicole continued, her words coming faster, as if afraid she might lose her courage. But now I realize that what I want even more is to create for a specific person, just like Nicole created for you. I understood her implication, and my heart suddenly began to race. Nicole, please don't respond, she gently interrupted me. I just wanted you to know before I leave. No matter how you feel right now, remember that starting over is not a betrayal of the past, but a way of cherishing life. With that, she rose up on her tiptoes and softly kissed my cheek, then quickly turned and walked into the apartment building, leaving me standing alone in the night, my mind in turmoil. After returning home, I tossed and turned, unable to sleep, replaying Nicole's words and that gentle kiss over and over in my mind. Suddenly, I remembered a small box in the study, where Mary's last complete letter was kept, a letter I had found while sorting through her belongings. But at the time, overwhelmed by grief, I never had the courage to open. Now, I finally mustered the courage to walk into the study and retrieve that delicate little box from the depths of the drawer. Inside lay a pale pink letter, bearing Mary's familiar handwriting. Dearest George, by the time you read this letter, you may find yourself at a crossroads in life, hesitating between moving forward or staying where you are. My greatest wish is that you can move bravely through life, as freely as your brush glides across the canvas. Love is not a shackle, but a liberation. Memory is not a burden, but a source of strength. If one day you meet someone who can rekindle the light in your eyes, please don't hesitate because of your longing for me. True love is wishing happiness for the other, even if there is no longer a place for oneself in that happiness. Remember, the days we loved each other were complete, with no need for regrets. And now, it's time to paint a new picture, my beloved. Forever loving you. Mary. Tears blurred my vision. It was as if Mary had foreseen my current situation and had already given me her blessing. She was always like this, always able to see further and more clearly than I could. At that moment, I made up my mind. Early the next morning, I drove straight to Nicole's apartment. Professor George? Nicole opened the door in surprise, clearly not expecting me. I have something to say to you. I looked her straight in the eyes, not as your teacher, but as George. I handed her Mary's letter. Nicole read it carefully, her expression shifting from surprise to being moved. and finally, her eyes grew moist. She truly was an extraordinary woman, Nicole said softly, handing the letter back to me. Yes, she was. I nodded. That's exactly why I believe her words. Nicole, cancel your plans for Paris. Stay and continue our collaboration, will you? Nicole looked at me in shock. Are you serious? I've never been more serious, I said quietly. Rebirth is not just the name of an artwork, it's a possibility in life. Are you willing to explore that possibility with me? Her answer was a firm embrace, warm and real, like the first ray of sunlight after a long winter. In that moment, I felt as if Mary was somewhere, smiling down on us, blessing this new beginning. Life is like that blood amber, enduring countless ages of change and sedimentation, ultimately transforming into an eternal radiance. And I, at last, understood what true pursuit is, what true rebirth means. A year later, Nicole and I unveiled our second joint project, Interwoven, at the National Art Museum. This series was even bolder and more innovative than Rebirth, blending Eastern and Western aesthetics with various art forms. Critics hailed it as a significant breakthrough in contemporary art. At the opening ceremony, Nicole held my arm as we faced the media interviews and congratulations from the audience together. She wore a simple white dress, and around her neck was the Eye of Rebirth necklace we designed together. She completed the jewelry part based on my painting. Your collaboration seems even more in sync than your last project, a reporter asked with a suggestive smile. Nicole glanced at me, and we exchanged a smile. Yes, both in art and in life, we've found the perfect balance. This indirect answer drew a round of good-natured laughter from the reporters present. My relationship with Nicole was no longer a secret, but we always kept a low profile, letting the public's attention remain focused on our artistic creations. After the exhibition, we drove out to a small hill in the countryside. There stood an ancient oak tree, beneath which Mary's ashes were laid to rest. This was the place we chose, rather than a traditional cemetery, natural, peaceful, just like Mary herself. Mary, the exhibition was a great success today, I said softly to the stone beneath the tree. Nicole's designs were admired by everyone, just as you once predicted. Nicole crouched down and placed a bouquet of white daisies in front of the stone. Teacher Nicole, I've been working hard to become the kind of designer you hoped I would be. I hope you can be proud of me. A gentle breeze stirred, and the oak's leaves rustled softly, as if it were Mary's reply. On the way back, Nicole suddenly said, I've been thinking about something. What is it? If that woman who pretended to be Ms. Nicole hadn't appeared, you might never have found the blood amber, never created the pursuit, and we might never have met. Her words made me fall into deep thought. Indeed, it was the series of events triggered by that deception that ultimately led to everything now. It feels as if, in the unseen, some force has been orchestrating it all. Perhaps that's the irony of fate, I said softly. Sometimes, the worst beginnings can lead us to the best endings. When I returned home, I received an unexpected package. Upon opening it, I found a delicate little box containing a handmade ring. Though simple, the craftsmanship had improved greatly compared to the pieces I had seen before. There was a note attached. Mr. George, thank you for your kindness and understanding a year ago, which gave me the courage to start over. Now I have found a job at a small jewelry shop, and my life is gradually getting back on track. This ring represents my gratitude, and I wish you happiness and well-being on your new path. Luna, I handed the ring to Nicole. After examining it carefully, she remarked, her skills have improved a lot. She truly is talent. Some mistakes in life shouldn't become permanent scars, I sighed. Everyone deserves a second chance. That night, we sat in the studio, discussing ideas for the next series. Nicole suddenly proposed a bold idea. I was thinking, maybe we could try connecting the different stages of our work to create a complete narrative. From eternity to quest, then to rebirth, and intertwined, they're actually different phases in a person's life journey. You mean? A complete story about loss, searching, rebirth, and integration, she explained excitedly, ultimately asking what is the most precious treasure in life. Love. I finished her sentence. No matter what form it takes. Nicole nodded, her eyes sparkling with creative fire. We could call it the forms of love, an unprecedented artistic exploration. Sounds like a long-term, ambitious project. We have time, she smiled, holding my hand. We have so much time. In that moment, I felt a powerful surge of creative inspiration, just like when I first began my artistic career years ago, filled with passion and possibility. But this time, I was not facing the blank canvas alone. 2 years later, the Forms of Love series was exhibited simultaneously in the world's 5 greatest art museums, causing an unprecedented sensation. Critics called it a milestone in contemporary art history, blending painting, sculpture, jewelry design, and other art forms to create an entirely new artistic language. The final piece of the exhibition was titled Eternal Ring, a massive circular canvas depicting every form of love in life, familial, platonic, romantic, and the love for art itself. The edge of the canvas was inlaid with gemstones of various sizes, and under certain lighting, these gems would cast light onto specific parts of the canvas, revealing another hidden layer of patterns. The centerpiece of this work is a massive blood amber. Through intricate optical design, the light it projects perfectly outlines 2 embracing figures. One is Mary, the other is Nicole, symbolizing the intersection of past and present, the fusion of memory and rebirth. On the closing day of the exhibition, in front of the Eternal Ring, I knelt on one knee and proposed to Nicole. The ring was crafted from the very blood amber Mary had once prepared for me, designed by my own hand and fashioned by the finest jeweler. This ring carries the memories of the past and the hopes for the future, I whispered softly. Nicole, will you be the eternal ring in my life? Her tears sparkled under the spotlight. I will. Amidst the cheers, I remembered what Mary once said. Love does not disappear. It merely changes its form. Yes, love does not disappear. It exists in memories, in art, in every rebirth and new beginning. It traverses time and crosses space, like that blood amber which, after millions of years, still shines, forever retaining the original warmth and brilliance of life. This is the answer I have been searching for all along. Between loss and gain, between seeking and rebirth, love remains constant, only appearing in different forms along the journey of life. And all we need to do is bravely accept this gift, no matter how it comes to us. On the day of the wedding, the sky was a clear, washed blue. Beneath the ancient oak tree that had watched over Mary, we exchanged our vows. A gentle breeze stirred, making the leaves whisper as if blessings were drifting in from another world. No matter when or where, Nicole said softly, we'll always remember that it was she who brought us together. Yes, I squeezed her hand, and we will always cherish this gift. In the brilliant sunlight, the blood amber ring gleamed, radiant as life itself, enduring the passage of time, yet still shining bright.